Assalamu alaikum friends. Today we are discussing a topic regarding coordinate geometry, gradient of a straight line. Gradient is actually the slope of a straight line. The gradient is actually the vertical and the horizontal change. Vertical change is the change in y-axis and the horizontal change is the change in x-axis. The division of these two changes will give us the gradient or a slope of a straight line. Actually, the formula of a gradient for a straight line will be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So what are these basically? X2 and y2? You can see that if we have an x-axis and the y-axis and we have a straight line like this. So the first point is this and the second point is this, which is AB. And we have to find the gradient or the slope of AB. The coordinates of A will be x1, y1, and the coordinates of B will be x2, y2. These are basically x1 and y1 and x2 and y2. We will substitute these values in the formula of gradient and we can get the answer of our gradient. So some basic concepts are gradient are this, like if we have a gradient, if we have a line like in increasing order, you can say that this line is in increasing order. From below, it is going from below till top. So we can say that we will say that the gradient of this line will always be positive. This is x-axis and this is y-axis. Now if we have x-axis and y-axis and line is like moving downward, so its line having always the gradient of the slope will be negative. All right, x-axis and this is y-axis, and if a line is parallel, exactly parallel to y-axis, so always this gradient of this line will always be 0, because you can say that there is no change in y-axis, so its y coordinate will be 0, which is in the numerator, and if the numerator is 0, then the answer will always be 0. So the gradient of a line which is parallel to x-axis will always be 0, and the gradient of a straight line which always be parallel to y-axis will always be infinite, because its horizontal change is 0. You can see that the x-axis has no change in the x-axis. In this line there is no change in x-axis, and x-axis is present in the denominator. In the formula x-axis is present in the denominator, and if denominator is 0, then answer will always be infinite. So these are the basic concepts of about the gradient. Now we're going to do some questions of for practice of the gradient. This we having some questions of exercise 6a of book 3. The first question is, find the gradient of the line passing through each of the following pairs of points. In part A we have a point A which is 0 0, and in point B we have the coordinates -2 and 1. So let's start doing to solve it. Point A is 0 0 and point B is -2 and 1. This is actually x1 and this is y1. This is x2 and this is y2. So just put the values. Gradient of AB is equals to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Just put the values of these x2 and y2. y2 is 1 and y1 is 0, so -2 and -0. So gradient of AB will be 1 minus 1 over 2. So in part F, you can see that in part F, the coordinates of K is -7 and 9, and the coordinates of L is 6, 9. K is -7, 9, and L is 6 and 9. So gradient of KL is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I know that this is x1 and this is y1, this is x2 and this is y2. So gradient of KL, 9 minus 9 and 6 minus bracket minus 7. So the numerator is 0 and the denominator is 13. But if the numerator is 0, the gradient of KL is equals to 0. अच्छा, अभी हमने क्या पढ़ा था कि when will the gradient of a line is 0? When we have a line which is parallel to x-axis, the gradient of that line will always be 0. We can say that this KL is parallel to x-axis at some point of y. So this line having gradient 0. So these are basic concepts. I hope you guys understand this. In the next lecture, we will do the more questions of exercise 6a. Thank you so much. Till then, okay, Allah Hafiz.